News coverage, also known as earned media, is a powerful way to draw attention to your issue. As advocates, we often want our story to be featured in the New York Times, CNN, or your local news outlet. But when is the right time to seek press coverage? In such a crowded and competitive news landscape, how do you successfully get coverage? First, you need to determine how seeking media coverage fits into your broader communication strategy and activities. Consider when you should incorporate media relations in your approach. Is it more effective for you to initially use social media and direct outreach, followed by news coverage? Or is there an opportunity to use news coverage to jumpstart your campaign? No matter which sequence makes sense for your strategy, make sure your messaging is consistent across media relations, website, and social media. Second, you need to assess whether news coverage is the best means of reaching and influencing your audiences. Do you need the credibility that news coverage might bring? Will more direct communication in the form of a text, email, or social media be more successful? Keep in mind that when it comes to earned media, you haven't paid for it to be created, like the way you would for an advertisement. Nor is it a platform you can control, like your blog or website. You have to earn your way onto the press outlet by convincing reporters to cover your story. Understanding the media landscape can help you efficiently package your story so that it is newsworthy. Different types of news outlets will present your story in different ways. For example, a local news outlet in Jackson, Mississippi, or in Albuquerque, New Mexico, is looking for stories that are relevant in their backyard and to these residents. National news outlets like USA Today or The Washington Post are seeking to appeal to a much broader audience and are thus much more competitive to break into. There are also news outlets that target specific audiences, like industry trades such as the Chronicle of Philanthropy, in-language outlets like Univision, or even BIPOC media. Another consideration is how an outlet will present your story to its audience. What stories will appear next? Is there a political leaning? Does the story need visuals? Who is our spokesperson? What are the reporter and editor beats? Looking back to your SMART goals can help narrow down these answers and streamline how you package your story. Knowing the beat or issue area a reporter covers can help you target your pitch to the best reporter. Review recent coverage from the reporter to see if your news fits within their beat and interests. Almost anything can be news, but there's a difference between a story being important and being in the news. How can we make sure the story you are pitching to reporters will grab their attention and is actually newsworthy? Consider two criteria when determining if your story is newsworthy. First, did something just happen? Was there a school board vote or a breaking news story that had significance? Or, secondly, is something happening very soon that is a big deal? In both cases, it's important to plan ahead as much as possible because you only have a small window to pitch your story to a reporter. It's also helpful to angle your story in a new and fresh way. Is there new data that you have? Are residents being impacted in a different way? Is there a part of your issue that hasn't yet been told? Reporters may be interested in your story, but they also have to make the case to their editors, so equipping them with a fresh perspective on the story will go a long way. When packaging your story to a reporter, consider the following. Do you have what the outlet needs? For TV stories, do you have visuals? For a national story, do you have data to indicate how this is a national trend? Also consider what the type of story needs. For breaking news, have you planned ahead so the reporter can share the story as soon as something happens? Or a feature story, do you have several examples and spokespeople? Humanizing your issue is another strategy that can elevate your pitch. Ultimately, we want the audience to understand how the data impacts them or why they should care about a particular issue. Oftentimes, news stories will incorporate a first-person example of someone who is experiencing the issue at hand. Reporters won't have the historical viewpoint of your issue or story, so using storytelling techniques to package your story can help provide context and position reporters to be more engaged with your story. A key element of the story to incorporate is clearly identifying who your protagonist is. Consider who your audience will relate to or be inspired by. Will their values or life experiences motivate your audience? The next element of the story is stating the challenge that your protagonist faces. What have they gone through or experienced? Will those challenges resonate with your audience? And finally, how was your protagonist transformed? What has changed as a result of your protagonist's journey? What can the audience learn from this transformation? When packaging your news story, remember that you first and foremost need to hook your reporter and equip them with the tools they need to successfully make the case to their editor. When you have your story ready to go, the next question is, how do you even reach reporters? All outlets are going to be different, but here are some common ways to reach the press. A press release is an official statement from your organization and can frame your news in a public way, even if your story does not get published. A press release packages your news in the way you want it published and serves as a public record of your work. A statement is a reaction and a perspective to something that is happening now. This is often an official reaction of your organization that can quickly be referenced by a reporter who is writing a story in rapid response to an issue. A pitch is your organization's first chance to help a reporter understand what you're trying to get across is new, fresh, and timely. These are usually very short and to the point and can grab the attention of a reporter. You want to show what you can offer in a pitch. Do you have a spokesperson available to comment on an issue? Do you have new data that can show a trend? Make it clear why you're contacting them and not another reporter. Exclusive stories are reported by one journalist before anyone else. Offering an exclusive can be a good strategy to entice an outlet to jump on news over their competitors. An embargo is used to send information to the media in advance of a scheduled release or announcement. Reporters are expected not to publish or broadcast any news about it until the given time and date. Embargoes provide reporters with time to get their stories ready before the announcement or release is made public. Media relationships take time, persistence, and thoughtfulness. Do your research to better understand what the reporter covers, how they cover the issues, and who might be friendly towards your organization. Follow reporters you'd like to cultivate relationships with on social media and promote their coverage on your own channels. Explain why you're an important resource and get to know them when you don't have something to pitch. Develop media lists so you can keep track of who you are reaching out to and details about reporters, what they cover, and how communicative they are. Doing the back-end work of preparing media lists is particularly important when a major news story hits, and you can quickly share information about your organization to these lists. Remember, when you are crafting your communication strategy, to think creatively about how being in the media can elevate your organization. When determining your approach to media relations, it's important to broaden your media landscape by understanding the types of outlets and how to package your story appropriately for each outlet. Taking time to build relationships with reporters and develop media lists will go a long way in your earned media tactics.